100%. This continues to scream at Andrew Friedman. You got to go make a trade. If you're serious about the 2023 Dodgers, you have to hit the market. And I have a new name that I am talking myself into.
Okay.
It's not as ridiculous as some people might think it is. I think the Dodgers should, if they make him available, if he's willing to waive his no-trade clause, Max Scherzer does make some sense. Max Scherzer does make some sense, and let me tell you why. So, Clint, he signed that 3-year, $130 million deal, has a no-trade clause, has said that there's been rumors that he's open to waiving that no-trade clause. And here's the thing. He has an opt-out after the season. He has an opt-out after this season, and we know that the Dodgers, they offered him 2 years, $72 million. He ends up signing for 3 years, $130 million. Well, if you get him for the rest of this season, you're looking at paying him around a little over $14.5 million. You're going to owe him $60 million around that if he opts into that final year of his deal. If you look at the last 3 starts for Scherzer, he's been pretty fantastic. A 2.25 ERA, a 2.88 xFIP, a 31.3 strikeout rate. This is a guy that is pretty much better than most number 2 or number 3 stars in the league right now. I don't think it's that insane.
It's not insane at all. It's the right call. It's a veteran. It's a guy who's been there. You got the veteran presence. You got the leadership. You got the been there, done that. You've got the dog. You've got the grind. You got somebody that some of these young right-handers can learn from as well. Like having him sit there, in the clubhouse next to Bobby Miller and Emmett Sheehan and whoever else comes up next. I love it. What did you say what have you said for months leading into the season? Who are you rooting for? You're rooting for the Dodgers to win, and whoever the White Sox are playing, you want them to win. Now you really want whoever the Mets are playing to win, because there's every reason in the world for them to set up for a fire sale.
Exactly. That's going to be the world's most expensive.
They kind of started in a way with the Eduardo Escobar trade.
Precisely, and that's going to be one of the most expensive garage sales in the history of the world when Stephen Cohen decides to do that. And here's a couple of things, too. If you're going to trade Max Scherzer, for a lot of teams, the only way you can make that deal is if the Mets are willing to pay down some of that money,
that was
right?
I was going to say.
They can buy their prospects. So that's how good the Dodgers are. They can sell their prospects, but also, too, they have the financial resource and muscle to absorb that. So maybe for the Dodgers, and you say, hey, we'll take on that money. We don't have to give up our prospects. They're one of the few organizations that has not only the muscle financially, but also has the prospect capital that say, hey, what do you want? We got the prospects and we have the money. You take your pick. But also when you look at Max Scherzer too, look, the reality is he's better than most teams' number 2 and number 3 starters. There's a very limited amount of starters that could be available, and a lot of them, they're not game changers. Really, Marcus Stroman, is he going to move the needle for you in the postseason? The answer is no. He's definitely heading for some serious regression to the mean. 250 BABIP. That's not a guy I would trust in game 1, 2, or 3, especially over some of the guys that the Dodgers already have if they're healthy. Lucas Giolito, not elite in a lot of categories. I would love to have him if you packaged him with a Middleton, or a Graveman, or a Hendricks if he's healthy, and some other guys, but I wouldn't like him as the headliner of the trade that would really be the last piece of the puzzle for the Dodgers. Definitely has pitched really well lately, but still, he's not a guy that you say, okay, he can get it done in the postseason. But Max Scherzer is a guy that we saw before he went down. He was elite for the Dodgers. He was fantastic.
As I say, a couple of concerns. He did break down in 2021, but he broke down because they had to ride him. They had nobody else. Clayton Kershaw was hurt. The elbow kind of gave on him a little bit. So as you get better, they didn't have the crop of pitchers now that they or then that they have now. There was no Dustin May. You couldn't really rely on the oft injured Tony Gonsolin at that time. Now they're in a better spot to protect a very old Max Scherzer. So it's a move that makes a lot of sense. The other concern I have, though, is he's not going to get more money on the open market. So, or do you end up stuck with him in 2024 when they realistically now at that point, you're filling up the rotation because you got a lot of young arms that need spots in the rotation. You don't know if Kershaw's coming back. If you win a World Series, Kershaw's going out for sure. He's going out on his own accord, and that's fine. Let him go out a champion. But if not, if they don't win, then you made this move, and now you got a $43 million player. You don't know how much money the Mets are going to pay down. So there's a lot of moving pieces to it, and that concerns me a little bit. But if you can trade for him and guarantee yourself a 2023 chip, in exchange for the $43 million you're stuck with Scherzer as a 40-year-old in 2024. I take that deal. But of course, we don't have the benefit of that kind of foresight.
Yeah, no, to respond to your points, first thing, if you look at, like I said, he's owed $14.2 million this year. If you trade him around August 1st, around the deadline, then you have the $43.3 million next season. But also, too, I mean, what if he is lights out? What if he absolutely is just fantastic with the Dodgers and he has a great postseason? I mean, could there be 3-year, $70 million deals out there for him if you were able to opt out? Not that many pitchers out there on the open market. Maybe that's something to consider. To the Dodgers next season, no guarantee Kershaw comes back. No guarantee Julio Urias comes back. No guarantee that Shohei Ohtani signs with the Dodgers. Yeah. And yeah, next season, you're not looking at a 40-year-old Max Scherzer. And what I tell you before the season, that I was calling that rotation for the Mets the Ace RP with Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer. But still, I think it would be the ultimate indicator that the Dodgers are all in on this season, that they've seen enough from this veteran-laden group right at the top. And I think we talk about 3 All-Stars, all from the lineup, and a team that is not even in first place. That tells me that their lineup is good, their pitching is bad for the most part. So, yeah, I just think it's interesting, and I think that what's really changed it for me is that Steve Cohen is willing to leverage his spending capacity to bolster the prospect pipeline. The Dodgers have the prospects. They have the money. There are not many teams out there that could compete with the Dodgers. I do think it'd be interesting considering their history and some of the comments that Max Scherzer made after he signed with the Mets about how the Dodgers handled him. But also, too, I think you look back, it could be a seamless fit as long as you don't touch the guy.
Yeah, I mean, they know the Max Scherzer 101, you know. Don't touch him if he's pitching.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, don't
Dave Roberts cupped it on the dugout.
Yeah. Dave Roberts gets in there. He's a cheek grabber for sure. But I like the move. I'm interested in seeing what the next month. Well, obviously, I'm interested in seeing what the next. I'm excited what the next month of baseball is going to look like for all these teams. Because
I think again, by the way, no sticky stuff. Okay, no sticky stuff. Like he cheated before, but no. Look, anyway. Chase rate's still there. The velo's still kind of where it was in his career.
No, it makes sense in every aspect. And yeah, you bring up the Julio, you bring up the Kershaw. You don't know what Dustin May's future is going to be like in the rotation. You don't know if maybe you need to include a Tony Gonsolin in a Max Scherzer trade to give them.
I will drive him there for it.
Drive them across the country to make it happen. But
with the Dodgers,
they definitely, because I'm terrified also to imagine a rotation of just Bobby Miller and Tony Gonsolin and Emmett Sheehan or whatever next year.
Lots of potential, but there's still lottery tickets. There's still no guarantees. But Scherzer, in his time with the Dodgers, at a 1.9 ERA. In 11 starts, 68 in the third inning, a .82 whip, so 1.98
probably should have
ERA.
won that Cy Young, but
fell apart a little at the end. But yeah,
that's neither here nor there. Cody, did you say you have something before we move on?
Yeah, we have a few comments. Justin Lama said, "Thank you, Doug. Max Scherzer every single day." So I definitely agree with you.
You're welcome, Justin.
Emar said, "LOL on Scherz." And then Darren Shepard, to get back to what you guys were talking about with Kershaw, they said Kersh should never pitch at Coors. His injuries always seem to follow a start there. Interesting.
Yeah. Injuries or his ERA gets injured.
We have a lot of people saying pass on dead arm, Mad Max. There are a lot of people wanting Joe Kelly and Rich Hill back on the mound for. So
I don't care if Rich had like a 40 ERA. I would still want him back. Okay, I love me some Rich Hill. Love me some Dick Mountain.
Richard Mountain, if you're nasty. All right.